Welcome to Payoff Pitch Action Network's Major League Baseball betting podcast. I'm Collin Whitchurch, joined by Sean Zerillo to look at the Tuesday MLB slate. Full slate of games after kind of a weird Monday. A couple of huge potential playoff previews. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. AL East, the Yankees and Blue Jays are both in action against potential playoff matchups. Yankees are playing the Tigers in the Bronx. Blue Jays hosting the Astros. So some good matchups there while Boston is still out west in Sacramento. Mets and Phillies face off again after Aaron Nola threw it right in my face yesterday by cashing our under really nice and easily. 1-0 Phillies win there. That division is wrapped up at this point. Kind of a light card for both of us today. A couple bets here. We'll get going. Hopefully give you some winners. Got Grant Neiffer from Scores Nods coming up later with his favorite dingers for Dinger Tuesday. But we will jump right in to our best bets today. Sean, I'll let you go first because you have a play on one of those big AL playoff preview matchups.
Yeah, Yankees-Tigers, new series beginning today. We do not have umpire information as a result as of yet, so hopefully that news comes out positive later when lineups drop. But this game did trigger 4 different Action Lab systems for unders overnight, and there's still all 4 of those are there this morning. 2 are related to wind and weather. 1 is contrarian unders for winning teams, which we brought up yesterday for that Brewers-Rangers game. And the under is understreak, which relates to, I believe, the home team having gone under in at least consecutive games. I think it's one of the other teams going under in consecutive games. But with regard to the wind and weather system, specifically for Yankee Stadium, they've hit combined at about a 57% rate. The wind blowing in pro system on Action Labs, 40 and 31 at Yankee Stadium, and 9.5% ROI for the under. And the second half under system we have set up in Action Labs, 23 and 16, a 13% ROI to the under. Yankees bullpen has caught a lot of shit since the trade deadline. I mean, they have performed poorly at times, but they're actually a top 3 bullpen over the past 30 days, 3rd in expected FIP, 3rd in strikeout minus walk. The Tigers bullpen is the one that's fallen apart. They're 24th and 30th respectively over the same span. But given the weather, given the wind, cooler temperatures tonight in the Bronx, going to be in the high 60s. The AC has not kicked in on my house today. I have the AC in here set for 69. The house is at 67. So the New York temperatures have gone down into the mid 60s officially, and it's carrying there. It will be there once the sun goes down at night. It is definitely cooler here. And the wind is also blowing in as well. I said 6 miles an hour in from center field. So that's why those wind in systems triggered for Action Labs. The wind and weather lowers my projected total by about a half a run compared to a weather neutral day in the Bronx. Normally I'd make this 8.25 pre-umpire. Today I make it 7.75. So I like the under down to 8 at even money between the Yankees and the Tigers. And hopefully we do not get too many dingers pulled into that short porch type.
Like that one, Tigers bullpen, as you mentioned, been a little rough sledding of late, but they are rested. Off day yesterday. Troy Melton, the only one really with a significant pitch count on Sunday. So see if some of those arms they counted on early in the season who were good can bounce back. Will Vest came back down to earth. Tommy Kahnle hasn't been very good of late. Really expected them to do more at the deadline. Have talked about that a little bit. Kyle Finnegan was their big bullpen addition. He's obviously injured right now. They did send Chris Paddock to the bullpen. We'll see how that works out. I'll get into my best bet here. We're going back to the well with Mets Phillies, but I'm taking a player prop here. You're going to talk about why you like the Mets here in a second, but I'm going to focus on just one area of the game. That's Mets starting pitcher Sean Manaea. Manaea's been great in the strikeout department, even as he's been getting unlucky just from a run prevention standpoint this year. His strikeout rate is up 5% from a year ago, 7% on his career rate. Both his rate of swinging strikes and called strikes are up significantly from his career average, which is a key stat I look at, for strikeouts. Basically confirm if the guy is actually missing more bats, just getting lucky with umpires and calls. He is missing more bats generally, which is a significant factor in his uptick in strikeouts. He faced the Phillies just 2 starts ago. He struck out 8 in just 4 2/3 innings. That's impressive on its own, but he threw 90 pitches and got 19 swinging strikes in that game. He's gotten 12 or more swinging strikes in 3 of his last 4 starts. So really impressive stuff from Manaea, even as the run prevention stuff just hasn't been there for him of late, at least. Most importantly, though, for this handicap, the Phillies lineup has to be downgraded significantly against left-handed pitchers right now. They've always been impressive against lefties relative to the makeup of their lineup, with Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber anchoring the lineup as lefties. It's not that dissimilar from like the peak Astros with Kyle Tucker and Yordan Alvarez.
Yep.
Teams wanted to pound them with lefty arms, but they had lefty bats who weren't significantly negative when facing a platoon disadvantage. Schwarber and Harper have always held their own against lefties, but still the Phillies, they do strike out at a top 10 rate against lefties, and that's been a top 5 rate since the trade deadline. Also, two of their most important right-handed bats are on the injured list right now, Trey Turner and Alec Bohm. In addition to Schwarber and Harper, they've got other lefties in the lineup regularly: Brandon Marsh, Bryson Stott, Max Kepler getting more playing time. And if they sit and look for the platoon advantage in some of these areas, then you're just looking at general offensive downgrades. Guys like Weston Wilson in the lineup, Nick Castellanos, who has been bad this year, having a really poor season. So books are expecting a lot of strikeouts from Manaea tonight, but I don't think they're expecting enough. I know he's gone over this number a lot. You'd expect some regression at some point, but I really like this matchup for him against this Philly lineup. Over 5.5 strikeouts tonight for Manaea, sitting between minus 140 and minus 155 at most books. I think as of this recording, minus 140 at Bet365 is the best number out there. But I like that pretty much anywhere. Anywhere you look in the minus 150 range, Manaea over 5.5 strikeouts. I'll let that transition us, Sean, right into our favorite underdog section, because you have a play on this game as well.
Yeah, I like the strikeout prop you gave out. I can say that you really hit most of the points I was going to talk about. I can just contextualize them a little bit more with numbers. So Turner and Bohm, as you mentioned, both out of the Phillies lineup as of yesterday, definitely helped the under and helped the Mets money line yesterday. Unfortunately, the Mets could not score runs, but Turner and Bohm both have a career 130. Bohm is at 131, but both a 130 WRC plus against left-handed pitching. Turner's at a 119 against righties. Bohm is at an 89 against right-handed pitching. So Bohm is basically a platoon player against left-handed pitching. As you said, they both went on the IL yesterday, and left-handed splits is already their lesser split. As on the season, they're at a 110 against righties and a 103 against lefties. So yes, Turner and Schwarber, or Harper and Schwarber, can hold their own against left-handed pitching, but if you remove two of their best right-handed bats against lefties, this goes from an above-average offense to likely a below-average offense against the left-handed starter. Manaea has been pretty unlucky this season. The ERA 5.6, expected ERA 4.2, expected FIP 3.2, bot ERA 3.7. I actually think that's closer to where Manaea is, that 3.7 mark, somewhere between his expected ERA and his expected FIP. Strikeout minus walk, career best, 25%. It's nearly 10% above his career mark. His BABIP is 50 points above his career mark. His strand rate is 5% below. His home run to fly ball rate is about 4% above. Those are three luck categories that tend to regress towards a player's career mean. They do not tend to regress towards the league average as much as they do the player's individual mean. So I do think Manaea has just been unlucky across the board this season. And the Mets, have been dominant against left-handed pitching of late. On the year, their righty split is better than their lefty split, but over the past 30 days, they're running a 164 WRC plus against left-handed pitching. I brought this up. That's like 20 points better than any other team over that span. They're also first against right-handed pitching as well, but I do like them against lefties. Mark Vientos is officially broken out. Again, nobody hit yesterday, but the Mets offense has been unreal of late. The last piece that you did not mention, this is me going through the bullpens. The Phillies used Robertson, Strahm, and Duran for the third time in 5 days yesterday. So I doubt that those three are going to enter the game tonight. They might. Phillies are trying to put away the division. If they're up late, okay, let's put away the division, fourth time in 6 days, and then they're going to be down for several days. But all three may be coming in at less than 100% effectiveness tonight, or they just may not pitch at all. So Phillies may not have their 7th and 8th inning guys set up as they would normally want to for this game. I make the Mets plus or minus 110. I would bet them to even money in this matchup. Looks like a pretty good spot to take the road dog.
Yeah, the Phillies, as you mentioned, probably have the NL East wrapped up. They're kind of in a groove here for these last 3 weeks, because I think they're pretty locked into that number 2 seed in the National League. 4.5 behind Milwaukee for the top spot. 3 ahead of the Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm sorry, 4 ahead of the Dodgers for what would
Mm-hmm.
be the other bye. So really just sitting there in that 2 seed it'll be interesting to see how Rob Thompson kind of manages his team down the stretch.
Yeah, if they go 500, they should just get the 2 seed anyway. Like
Exactly.
it'd be hard to hop them at this point. Yeah,
Exactly. And the 2 seed is the key seed. That's the bye. So,
Mm-hmm.
Obviously they keep an eye on the Dodgers. The Dodgers could get hot and win 10 straight down the stretch at any point. Obviously having
The guy they could just throw 100 times is Alvarado, because Alvarado isn't eligible for the postseason.
Yep.
So I would use him every day, and I would imagine they probably will, because there's no penalty for burning his arm out right now.
Yeah. All right, so Sean's on Mets money line for his favorite underdog. My favorite underdog, I'm going back to Sacramento, taking another swing at the Athletics against the Red Sox tonight. They let us down with Luis Morales against Garrett Crochet last night. They did cash the under, so that was nice. Also, going to be interested if by the time people listen to this, the A's are even still underdogs. They opened around plus 110 last night. I think the minus 104 or so right now. So it could be the case where I'm taking an underdog and, by the time we get to first pitch, they're not even underdogs. This is a fate of the Boston offense right now, though, both generally and against a lefty. Also a fate of Dustin May, who just doesn't look like a viable major league starting pitcher. We talked about the Boston offense yesterday without Roman Anthony, still missing Willie Abreu. Pretty stark downgrade. They're relying a lot on guys like Nick Sogard, Rob Refsnyder. Nathaniel Lowe's actually been pretty good since getting picked up off the scrap heap from Washington, but he's facing a lefty tonight, so should be neutralized or maybe even head to the bench. Despite last night's showing, I'm pretty down on this offense at least until they get Abreu back. Anthony, I'm not sure is going to be back during the regular season, but Abreu,
they said he won't be back until the ALCS. The course said envision first bat of the ALCS, so it seems like he won't even make the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. It would be deep into the playoffs.
Yeah. Pretty disappointing just from a standpoint of watching, he's been really good as a top prospect in baseball. Dustin May, though, headed toward free agency. I'm really interested to see where he ends up, if anything is salvageable in terms of his attempts to be an above average major league starter. Sean, I think you and I even talked about it when the Red Sox traded for him. It was intriguing because Boston's pretty good at identifying fixable pitchers, working with them. Hasn't worked out for May. They demoted him to the bullpen momentarily, but he's back in the starting rotation tonight. Obviously a sinker baller. You'd think he'd be a solid fit pitching in a hitter's park like Sacramento, keeping the ball in the yard. But his ground ball rate is down to 42%. It's career worst. He's also allowing a career worst amount of fly balls and hard contact. I really like the A's offense against May tonight. I think I see their bats breaking out in a big way. Jeffrey Springs on the mound for the A's, a lefty again against an offense that is, relatively split neutral, but has been bad against lefties of late, especially this month. So I like the A's as underdogs here. Again, plus 108 last night, minus 104. If it's minus 110, whatever. Not technically an underdog for this section, but it's a money line bet I like tonight. Obviously, Morales didn't do us many favors last night. Crochet tore up this offense, but I think Oakland, I did it. Sacramento gets the win tonight. Sean, do you have anything on that game?
Dustin May, congratulations on being a New York Met or Milwaukee Brewer or Tampa Bay Ray in 2026. I feel like one of those 3 teams probably goes out and tries to sign you and reclaim you to previous, peak levels. We are required to give out a Sacramento fun fact, though, because you did slip of the tongue with the O word.
Yep.
Sacramento is known as the city of trees with the most trees per capita in the world. So there you go with your Sacramento fun fact for the day.
Wow. The NFL season is officially here, guys. I don't know if you were focused on baseball all weekend or not, but there was some football played over the weekend. And with football back, it's a great time to get the most out of the award-winning Action Network app. And to do so, you'll want to be an Action Pro subscriber. Only Pro subscribers get real-time pick alerts from experts like our very own Sean Zerillo, like our NFL guys, John Kerner, Chris Raybon, our entire Action Network team. Plus, you can access our pro projections powered by Kerner and our predictive analytics team. To celebrate the return of football, we've got a special offer. Go to actionnetwork.com/pro and get $20 off the annual price with the promo code PAYOFF20. Don't miss out on the best bets and the best prices. Visit actionnetwork.com/pro and use promo code PAYOFF20 to get $20 off a year of Action Pro. Sean has 2 more bets he's giving out here momentarily, and we have Grant Neiffer on deck with Dinger Tuesday. But one other reminder I wanted to throw out there, Action Network is relaunching the Favorites podcast with Stuckey, who you likely know if you're familiar with Action. If you don't know Stuckey, what have you been doing? The Prime Minister of Degenerate Nation. He is one of the new co-hosts of the Favorites podcast, along with Brandon Kravitz. If you listen to Buckets, our fabulous NBA show, you know Brandon Kravitz from there. And newcomer Kendra Middleton coming over from Boston. Probably got another Boston fan on staff, which is great if that's your thing. But yeah, Stuckey, Brandon Kravitz, Kendra Middleton, the new host of the Favorites podcast, relaunching this week. If you're listening to this podcast right now, the first episode of the Favorites is probably out there because they're recording the first one today. Every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, go check out the Favorites over on their podcast feed or at actionnetwork.com and in the Action app. Okay, final bets time. I'm going to stand clear here, Sean. I just had the 2 bets today. You've got a couple of money line stabs to take today. St. Louis, Seattle, Matthew Liberatore against George Kirby. These games are obviously very important for Seattle still. Facing a lefty here with Kirby, who's been very up and down, kind of confusing, difficult to figure this year. High expectations. Where are you going here with Liberatore versus Kirby?
Yeah, so contextualize that George Kirby started the year with shoulder soreness, right? And now he's shown career worst metrics and indicators. Subsequent to that IL stint, his expected ERA is 4.1, strikeout minus walk rate 18%, again, still above the major league average, but down from his previous levels, previously above 20% there. His stuff plus down from 104 to 97, and pitching plus down from 112 to 109 year over year, and his body ERA has gone up from 3.27 to 3.68. So George Kirby, definitely not where he was previously. And over the past 30 days, I think there's evidence that he's potentially fatiguing the longer the season goes, and the shoulder may be bothering him again. 5.75 ERA, 4 expected FIP, 12.4% strikeout minus walk, which is below the major league average of about 13.5%. So I do think as the season has gone on, the Mariners are continuing their playoff push. George Kirby does not want to stop contributing to said push, but I do not think he's feeling 100%. And I think it's pretty evident in his numbers this year. I took a lingering plus 200 on this game when the rest of the market had moved closer to plus 180. All the Camby books still had plus 200 up during Monday Night Football. I do think the market has not softened, but I think the market is not sharpening as quickly and efficiently as it did a week ago. I think with football now and people paying attention to those markets, books paying attention to those markets, fewer people betting into baseball markets, I do think our COV over the past few days has been substantial. Regardless of the results, the COV has been astronomical. I'm beating every total by a run. Every money line is moving in 20, 30 cents. I still made this game about plus 150 when the rest of the market, or the market at large, was at plus 180. Grabbed the plus 200, said to bet it to plus 165. I'm expecting this to close around plus 160 today. The main difference between these two teams, and the main weakness for the Mariners in general as a contender, is their defense. The Mariners are 21st in defensive runs saved, 29th in outs above average. Crawford is a woeful defensive shortstop. Victor Robles grades out as one of my worst defensive corner outfielders. I need to look into that rating more because it doesn't seem possible that a guy that fast could be a Nick Castellanos level defender. That is how he grades, though, in my model. I need to check on those numbers and those inputs, but they just rate terribly defensively, and that's with having the platinum glove catcher behind the dish. So Raleigh certainly helps their pitching staff, but everybody else in the field, in terms of catching baseballs aside from Julio, is kind of a negative defender. So that said, I make the Cardinals about plus 150 here, would bet them down to plus 165. Liberatore had a good outing in his last start. I'm not particularly high on him, but hopefully coming off of a good outing, he can keep that going. Pitchers do tend to be a little bit streaky in terms of like getting on runs of starts. And that's why we factor in, last month of starts for pitchers, et cetera, and look at last 30 days of expected FIP on top of season-long metrics. So yeah, I'm hopeful that Liberatore is going to remain in a groove. I like seeing him come off of a good start, but I said Seattle dead last or 29th in OAA. The Cardinals are actually first in OAA. There's a big difference between their DRS and OAA metrics. Their league average by defensive runs saved, but this is the number one team by outs above average, and it's one of the better defensive teams in my model. They're really strong up the middle, whereas the Mariners are really weak up the middle. So a huge difference in defensive quality here hopefully makes the difference in the game for the Cardinals.
Yeah, the Robles thing is interesting. My initial thought was just that maybe it's I thought about Juan Pierre playing left field with an absolutely terrible throwing arm, but Robles' arm grades out just fine. So it's the range that is holding him back defensively. So that's really interesting.
Some guys just can't track fly balls. Like I couldn't track fly balls. I think it's just the skill that you either have or you don't have. And like, I played third base, and even when pop-ups were hit to me, I would like panic because I was like, just tracking a ball over my head. Like I don't have the depth perception, I guess, or whatever, to be able to read the baseball. So yeah, it was always a weird thing for me. Robles, -3 DRS in 17 games in right field this year. He was previously a very bad center fielder. He should be a little bit better in a corner. I think those metrics and, the defensive number in my model, I think that's probably based off of a center field grade, not a right field grade. So I might need to upgrade him slightly, but he's still been pretty bad in right field this year.
Yeah, you and I were the opposite. Apparently, I'm just dreadfully slow, but I could track a fly ball. I'd have coaches refuse to throw me out in the corners because I was so slow. But I was like, I'll read the ball off the bat better than any of your fast defenders.
I was a hockey goalie too, so it's I have the lateral like stuff in front of me thing down. But once it was over my head, it's just like full blown panic.
Mariners rotation, by the way, talk about playoffs. We talked about this with the Mets last week. What they end up doing, in that 3-game series is going to be interesting. Does Kirby get one of the starts? Obviously Wu has been great this year. Logan Gilbert, you'd think, would get one of them, but then is it Luis Castillo? Luis Castillo's been better than a lot of people expected this year. Bryce Miller's obviously back. I don't think it'd be him, but it's Wu, it's Gilbert, it's Kirby, it's Castillo. How do they order them? Maybe Kirby is fatigued and maybe they throw him out in long relief and that's successful. But some of these short series, it's really interesting what some of these managers the strings they're going to pull with their rotation.
Miller had injuries. So you don't want to like start messing around with Miller like as a reliever and get him hurt because then the workload changes and his routine changes. Yeah, it's a little weird actually. Other teams you see like Clay Holmes, we discussed, like great, easy bullpen transition for Clay Holmes, but like for Bryce Miller and George Kirby, or any of the other Mariners starters, it's uncharted territory. So yeah, it's definitely not a benefit for them consolidating in the playoffs. It's a problem.
Yeah. So one more bet from Sean. Before we do that though, quick recap from last night. We don't often recap our nights. I had a really bad day yesterday. Full disclosure, hope to get back on the horse today. But the one recap I really want to do is the game of the day yesterday, Nationals Marlins. You cashed a nice money line winner on Nationals winning 15-7 over Miami. But you didn't cash your other bet on that game, I'm sorry to say. Over under 7,500 fans in attendance in Miami. Actual listed paid attendance in Miami last night, 7992. So it was close, but they went over. Congrats to the fans in Miami. If
they're putting under 8,000, there's no chance that number is real. So
I know. Yeah, there was probably 4,500 fans in the ballpark last night. But
I should have factored in lying into my handicap, not the actual number of people in the building.
If you bet the over on 7,500 fans in Miami last night, congratulations. We'll see you at the window. All right, final bet from Sean. I am right there with you on this bet. I'll let you get to the analysis, but I looked at this game really hard. I'm going to be betting the underdog as well. What I really, really tried to get to was a K prop here on Robbie Ray. Want to bet an under on him. I was hoping we'd get 6.5. It's at 5.5, so it's a stay away from me, but it is one. If you see Robbie Ray K prop at 6.5 out there, I'd consider an under here. But I'll let you talk about why you like Zach Gallen and the Diamondbacks tonight against Robbie Ray and the Giants.
Yeah, the bet I really wanted to get to here was the over, but we have Doug Eddings behind the dish, one of our best under umpires, career 53.7% under, 2.9% ROI, just betting unders on Eddings starts. So That lowered my total enough to get off of the over, but the weather is very similar to what we discussed yesterday with the wind blowing out at Oracle. Not normally, a hitter-friendly park. It may just play a little bit closer to neutral today. I want a over 7 at minus 115. I would bet that. 7.5, no thank you. 7 minus 115 with these two starters. Yeah, I'm interested. In terms of the bet I have right now, though, I do like the Diamondbacks, and I like them down to about plus 120. I make them plus 110 in this game. Gallen, Ray, pretty comparable projections. Average FIP projection for Gallen, 401. For Ray, 407. Ray, the much better expected ERA this season. Gallen actually has the better expected FIP, better body array. Pretty comparable starting pitching matchup. But of late, Gallen has actually been much better. While Ray has been struggling, I think, due to the fact that he's coming off of injury and now sitting at 168 innings. The last 2 years combined, he threw 34. So in terms of being able to handle the workload of this season and pitch this late into the year, I think Zach Gallen is just handling it better. Since August 1st, Gallen 2.2 ERA, 3.2 expected FIP, 14% strikeout minus walk. It's the best he's pitched all year. Robbie Ray over the same span, 4.54 ERA, 4.57 expected FIP. So he's deserved everything he's gotten, and a 14% strikeout minus walk, which is below his season average. Both teams in their superior split here. The D-backs better against lefties over the last 30 days, ranking 4th with a 132 WRC plus. They're 22nd against righties over the same span. The Giants, though, 5th against righties, a 122. They're 21st against lefties. So pretty comparable. Both teams top 5 against their split that they're in today. Bottom 10 against the split that they're avoiding. Again, I make the D-backs about plus 110. Like them down to plus 120. And as I said yesterday, Torley Ovulo is still convinced that his team is in the playoff race. So he's going to go all out to win these games. I don't mind. I don't mind taking shots against Robbie Ray. I've been avoiding or betting against Zach Gallen for most of the year. So that's like where I'm a little sketched out and why I want a piece of the over, in addition to the money line. So we're going to wait for a 7 and hopefully it pops up with Eddings behind the dish. And then we'll fire on the over at 7 minus 115 as well. But D-backs down to plus 120. And I should mention too, because I almost bet it and then I realized what I was doing. My model had value on the Royals last night, but it had Bobby Witt in the lineup. Witt didn't play yesterday. I don't think he's going to play today. He did baseball activities yesterday, which what I gathered was like throwing and fielding. He has not swung a bat yet. They said they want to see him swing a bat and then see how he feels. And I read that as he's going to swing a bat today and maybe play Wednesday. Not he's going to swing a bat today and then play Tuesday. I think they want to see him swing a bat and then see how he feels the next day. So I make the Royals minus 103 if Bobby Witt plays. I make them plus 130 if he's out. Yeah, that's a huge difference. He's worth about 8% to the money line. So you can bet the Royals down to about plus 103 if he's in. I would not bet them if he's out. In fact, I'd bet the Guardians up to minus 120 if he's out.
Not sure if Witt would have made much of a difference yesterday with my boy Ryan Bergert just getting absolutely shelled. Although it's funny, Michael Garcia committed an error at short also, and Slade Ciccone just shut them down. That was a really, really rough loss.
Another 8.5 total that closed 7.5 for me. That was over in the third inning because one pitcher gave up 8 runs. It's just been so much fun lately beating every total by a run and watching them disappear. But eventually, they should start tipping our direction. And as I said, the CLV has been phenomenal, and I think it will be on this slate as well. Just hopefully we cash some results along with it. So
Gallen's interesting, too, because you wonder if he realized about a month ago that he needs to get paid this offseason. One of the more interesting impending free agent pitchers out there. Scott Boras' client coming off a down year, now on the other side of 30. Will be interesting to see where he pitches in 2026 because I don't think it's going to be Phoenix.
No, I can't imagine. After they spent that money on Burns and then he got hurt, like you can't spend more money on Zach Gallen when he's been kind of declining for like 3 years, right?
Yeah. All right, before we get out of here, let's toss it over to Grant Neiffer of Scores and Odds. It is Dinger Tuesday, and he is bringing us some of his favorite Dinger bets from the slate.
All right, thanks, guys. It is Dinger Tuesday. We have a 50% profit boost. I got a 3-leg banger for you. Let's get started. It's 216 to 1. The first leg, Vinny Pasquantino. Now, who knows if he's going to start against a lefty, but I would assume he's going to. Generally does. going up against Cantaneo. He is a reverse splits lefty. We don't have a ton of information, but he grades out as a slightly above average matchup for lefty power. Pass squash hasn't been great the last few games, but he's still been crushing it over the last month and a half. He's got the power. The odds are a bit too high here. I'm rolling with it. Next up, Yordan Alvarez plus 400. Yordan gets a matchup versus Bieber, who has been great in his first 3 starts of the season, but he's probably going to regress a little bit. Historically been an average matchup for lefty power. Ballpark is decent for power, and Yordan is far too good at hitting dingers to be priced this high in an average matchup. And lastly, we got Alex Bregman playing over in Sacramento. The weather not as hot as I'd like it to be, sitting around mid-70s during game time, but that ballpark great for power with that short left field porch, and the wind is blowing out at 6 miles an hour. Gets a matchup versus Jeffrey Springs, who is a gas can for righty power, giving up about 1.6 home runs per 9. 2 righties so far this season. Bregman, not a huge power guy, but given the good ballpark, given the good matchup, plus 440, plus 450 is far too high of odds here. So parlay all 3 of them together, 216 to 1 with the 50% or 30% profit boost over on FanDuel. That's what I'm rolling with for this Dinger Tuesday. I'm out of here. Oro!
Thank you, Grant. That will do it for today's episode of Payoff Pitch. Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to tail some of the bets from today's episode, look for the quick slip links in the episode description or visit actionnetwork.com/betnow. Don't forget to download the free award-winning Action Network app, and don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you listen to the podcast. Also, check out the Action Network Discord. There's a link to that in the episode description of this podcast. And an exciting new feature here at Action. If you're on Twitter, we have a great new feature. You see a bet from any of your favorite Action Networks or anyone on Gambling Twitter, or you have a bet that you want to make yourself, but don't want to scroll through the books, finding the right lines and the right prices and everything like that, go on Twitter, tag @playbook, and tell our bot to build you a bet slip at a book of your choice. If you build it out, it will build it out for you with a quick slip link that opens right to your sports book. So keep an eye out for that tool @playbook on Twitter. To give you an example, if you want to take Sean and my best bets for today, go on Twitter, type @playbook, say, give me a parlay of Tigers, Yankees under, and Sean Manaea strikeouts over. Boom, your bet slip's right there. It's really an incredible feature. I've been using it all weekend. But that'll do it for us. We'll be back on Friday with more MLB best bets. For Sean Zerillo and Grant Neiffer, I'm Collin Whitchurch. Thanks for listening to Payoff Pitch, Action Network's MLB betting podcast, and good luck with all your bets.